So, how would a person read 150 books in a year? Number one, what you're going to do is you're going to listen to them. And don't let anyone troll you or tease you about that's not reading or it's not a real book unless you sit down and read it like this. Understand that reading it like this is something of a waste of time. You are engaging in an activity, laying down, which is not productive at all. When you could be driving, showering, getting ready for bed, laying in bed. Um, you could be looking at pictures, cleaning your car. Lots of different things that you could be doing when you listen to a book as opposed to reading it. Last night, I put my daughter to sleep. I laid right next to her on the little couch next to her, and we turned the lights out, and I had my book going. I played a little Candy Crush while I was doing that. If I'm reading a book like this, it'd be a little bit harder to do. Obviously, I could get out my Kindle on the iPad and read it that way, but it's just simply not as good a use of time. So anyway, this is what I use. I'm going to actually show you on the iPad how I read this many books and just kind of go through the Audible app. That's how I do it. I do it through the Audible app. So let's come here and you'll see right down at the bottom. Okay, let's actually just get this started. Let's go to, so 3, 2, 1, and we're live inside of my iPad. And you'll see some things you can do here. You can change your speed. You can change it to 3 times. A lot of the people that are able to read ridiculous amounts of books, that's what they're doing. They're changing the speed. And a tip for you is if you've never listened to a book, they're reading the book mad slow. They are not reading it at a normal clip. So that gives you an opportunity to read it at 2 times speed. A lot of the books, I would say the average book is going to come in around 6 to 8 hours. So if you read it at 2 times speed, you just made your listening time 4 hours. And depending on the subject matter of what you're reading, if it's mathematical, you're not going to be able to do 2 times speed. You might be able to do 1.5. If it's something that's philosophical or it's a story related or as some type of arc, you'll be able to follow along perfectly fine, sometimes on 3 times speed. Sometimes they're speaking in a British accent, which will mean you'll need to slow it down. So there's different ways in which you might decide that I'm gonna slow this down. Obviously, while you're listening, you'll be able to rewind, press play, do all these things, re-listen to a chapter. Sometimes you'll reread a book and you realize this one chapter inside the book is just perfect, and you'll just cue that up quite a bit and listen to it that way. Okay, you can use the sleep timer right as you're going to sleep. That's a good way to kind of put limits on what you're doing before you go to sleep. I'll use that. You can put notes as well. The other thing that's really key if you're going to set goals in terms of how many books you want to read in a year, if you want to read 150, you're probably going to need to put in about 3 hours a day of reading. And what you see here is this tracker that they've provided you in Audible. This is key for the motivation for me to continue to read. I can see what I've done each day and hit that 3 hours, 2 hours. When I did 150 in 1 year and 12 months, that was because I was doing 3 hours. Since I've kind of relaxed a bit and done just 2 hours a day, but just recently, I went back up to 3 hours because I had a really focused thing that I was learning about. For me, in this situation, it's about real estate. Before it was social media. And so you'll get into phases where you want to read a lot of books on a certain subject and you need to put in more time. So I've read 20 books on real estate in the last month or so. So that's kind of how you can do these things. And obviously it'll do daily, Sorry, I didn't mean to slide that. It'll do daily, it'll do monthly, and it'll do your total. This total thing has broken on me a couple times where I had to call Audible and see what was wrong with it. I'm not sure if it's correct at this point, but as you can see, 3 months, some days, hours, and minutes. It'll give you badges at some point. Once you've read enough books, you're going to have all of these badges except for maybe Dabbler, which is my case. You'll have achieved the master level in the achievements tab, and then it'll keep track of the books that you own. You don't want to buy and waste these books. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off this video recording on my iPad. But that's the easy ticket. That's how you get this done. You put in your hours. You listen on two times speed. You focus your attention on some of these topics that you want to learn about, and then read a bunch of those. You'll get repetitive concepts that will come up for you, and you'll get better and better. And then we're reading these books for a reason. So what do you have to do? Each time you read a book, you got to do one or two things from that book. You got to institute those things into your life. The way I do that, the way I track that, is with a habit tracker. And maybe I'll do a video on that at some later point. But that's how you would start to incorporate those things into your life, whether you're reading about athletics, working out, something like that. You're reading about marriage. You're reading about child rearing. You're reading about investing, real estate, as I'm doing right now and mentioned, sales, marketing. All these things, you can read lots of books in a very short period of time and really step up and then take small actions based on what you think are the best pearls from those books. But it's a great habit for me. Keeps me from watching TV, which is terribly depressing if you're watching the news. I used to be one of these people that would watch my favorite opinionated anchor on my favorite news station every night, and now I haven't seen that in maybe 4 years, and I've missed this since 2016 nonsense that's kind of going on. Not that it wasn't nonsense before, but I've missed that whole thing. I don't watch a lot of TV. I do watch sports, but putting in this much reading has really focused my life and given me personal power to make changes that I don't think I would have been able to make otherwise. So please take this advice, try it out, try the Audible app. The books are very cheap as compared to other places, and change your life. Thanks.